Welcome to perek chapter 24, the penultimate chapter of the book of Melachim Bet, where it's literally second to last chapter, but it's also, you can see that this is where the kingdom of Yehuda is coming to an end and exile is imminent. We've seen last chapter there was a righteous king, Yoshiyahu, and he had a son named Yehoachaz. Yehoachaz was the king for just 3 months. After 3 months, Paro, the king of Egypt, comes and takes him and expels him, and instead he puts a puppet, and his name is another son of Yoshiyahu, and his name is Eliakim. Paro changes his name. He says, if you're going to be my puppet, I'm going to change your name. And he changes Eliakim's name to Yehoyakim, and he puts him in charge of Israel only on the condition that Yehoyakim serves him and serves him well, and he is 25 years old when he becomes king. Paro also ransacks the Beit HaMikdash, takes a lot of the gold and the silver. But at the end of the day, Egypt is a declining empire, and it's taken over as a regional power by the kingdom of Babylon and Nebuchadnezzar, and that's exactly what happens. Yehoiakim is king, and remember, he was installed by Paro of Egypt. Nonetheless, now what happens is that the Babylonians come in and they say, okay, we're in charge now, and they're in charge, and Yehoiakim remains faithful to the Babylonians for some time. They come, they take also a lot of the gold and the silver, and he goes in the ways of King Menashe the evil. Yehoiakim dies after several years, and now remember, the people in charge are the Babylonians. No more Egyptians in the picture. Yehoiachin is the next king, and 3 months into his kingdom, what happens is Nebuchadnezzar comes and he puts a siege on Jerusalem. Now, Yehoiachin decides he'll be a master diplomat, and he takes a delegation. But spoiler alert, it's not going to end well. And he goes to the gates of the city with a delegation, him and all the most prominent leaders of Yehuda, and he says, we give up, we're ready to be your servants, Mr. Nebuchadnezzar, and he ties them all up, and unfortunately, he takes them to Babylon. He expels the king, and then he does what's called Galut HaCharash VaHamasger. It is the Galut, the expulsion of the blacksmith. It sounds funny, but it's every single person that was prominent, every person that had a profession, every person that can produce a sword, every person that can do anything for the city was expelled to Babylon, 10,000 people, and really the people who remained are only the poorest and least capable to lead, definitely to lead a rebellion, and all those people were expelled to Babylon. And next you have is Yehoiachin is also expelled to Babylon, and the next king is a fellow, also Yoshiyahu's son. So think about it. This is Yoshiyahu's third son who's being king. You had first Yehoachaz, then you had Eliakim who became Yehoiakim, and now you have then you had his son Yehoiachin, and then you have Mataniah, who becomes king now after the expulsion of Yehoiachin, and he is has his name changed. It's a way of showing mastery over a person, that you change their name, and so his name is changed from Mataniah to Tzidkiyahu. Tzidkiyahu is not the greatest leader because he goes and continues to rebel in Hashem, but also he eventually makes a very fateful mistake of rebelling against the king of Babel. That has been perek chapter 24. Again, we start off with Paro removing Yehoachaz, appointing Eliakim, making him Yehoiachin. Making him Yehoiakim. And then you have the takeover of Nebuchadnezzar. You have the Babylonian takeover. And then you have the death of Yehoiakim. He dies a natural death, and his son or brother, I should say, is appointed, and his name is Yehoiachin. And in those days, you have the Galut HaCharash VaHamasger, the expulsion of the blacksmith and anyone of prominence. That's with Yehoiachin. Remember, the guy who shows up at the gates of the city to be a master diplomat, boom, expelled to Babylon. And then you have after Yehoiachin is expelled to Babylon, Mataniah, his cousin, is put in place, and his name is changed into his name is changed into Tzidkiyahu. And next chapter, perek Chaf Hey, spoiler alert, is the ultimate final chapter with an extremely, extremely sad end. It's no coincidence I'm recording this on the eve of the 17th of Tammuz, a day in which we mourn the destruction of Jerusalem. Perek Chaf Hey, I'll see you there. It's going to be sad, but it's an extremely important perek. Thank you.